Mulwa, what are some of the recommendations and reforms that are required now as we head into 2027?
My entry point would be to place the blame exactly where it belongs. And this country has deteriorated dangerously when we look at political hygiene. The IEBC, as I have indicated, and in my assessment, they did their best, especially in the last elections and even previously, despite the institutional infrastructural challenges that they may have. But to me, the major issue is the actual actors or the participants in these political processes. Commissioner Ann here has mentioned about goons. These goons are not aliens. These goons are not foreigners. These are people who are funded by politicians or people who have interest in those political processes to cause the chaos and the mayhem. And in my view, until we begin to reform the conduct of political processes by politicians and everybody who is involved in that process, we are going to have a long way to go. And the deterioration has been witnessed over the years. When you look at like an election like 2013, I think because we were recovering from the 2007-2008 post-election violence, it is one of the elections that we witnessed the least political chaos. 2017 chaos started creeping in or creeping back. By 2022, we witnessed an escalation. And what we saw, especially in these by-elections, was a very dangerous precedent going forward. And that is why I get very concerned. Because like the individuals that were even fined by the IEBC, as the commissioner is indicating, you know, they are limited to what the provisions of the law can allow them to do. And personally, I have had the privilege to work with Commissioner Nderitu at the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties for the last 5 years. And there was a very, actually a very high commitment to professionalism and excellence by the ORPP, especially that has been deployed towards the registration of political parties. That is what I would want to see, the same kind of discipline and the same kind of commitment within the IEBC, especially now that it is new commissioners who have a responsibility to prove to Kenyans that we can trust yourselves as custodians of this very important process. But again, beyond the political parties and the politicians, we also have a big challenge when it comes to the legislature, because these laws are made by parliamentarians who have to find uncanny or funny ways to shield themselves from responsibility. We saw people murdered in the 2022 general elections, in electoral areas where we have members of parliament or members elected or who served in government continue to serve, and we have not seen the conclusion of what happened. And unless and until we have those issues, people punished severely, it continues to embolden people, and it continues to encourage that dangerous culture. And 2027, as it is evident, is going to be a very contested election. When you look at the temperatures that were there in just small by-elections, even MCA positions, you would think actually we are electing a president in Narok or in Malava or in some of the areas that we had by-elections. So the politicians, and I think this is where the IEBC would come in very handy, because there are regulations for political parties, and there are regulations for political parties, for electoral processes. The IEBC, as much as we are talking about civic education for the citizens, this must actually begin with the political parties themselves. So that, because when you look at the way we ended up even with the chaos, particularly in Kasipul, it is evident that a majority of the people may not even be aware of what is expected of them. And perhaps, I know there has been concerns about budgetary constraints, but it is imperative that the IEBC stamps its foot down, because you must deploy your independence as enshrined in the Constitution, and ensure that political parties are well trained or well educated in undertaking these processes. Because at the end of the day, as Arnold indicated, the responsibility rests now with us, especially in the political space. You come in only as referees and as executors of the regulations that we are bound to. But that ethic, that hygiene, that commitment must begin to be demonstrated by the political parties themselves and all those who are seeking to participate in electoral processes.